play with us. Today I'm going to be reviewing Tamashii, Chronicle of Ascend, a game by Awakened Realms, from their Awakened Realms Light line of games. I'm a big fan of Awakened Realms games. I've got many of their games, and this is the newest one to hit retail. I got my copy here is a retail copy. It's not a Kickstarter copy. And I also have the standee version, not the mini version that I'll be going over here. Personally, I prefer standees over minis. Minis kind of drive the price up about 50%, and I'm not a painter, so it just ends up being gray blobs of plastic on the board. So I do prefer the standees to the minis. So the first thing I'll go over for the game is the components. So speaking about the standees, the standees are, they're an okay quality. Cards also have really nice card art on them. Their card quality is really some of the best. I sleeve all my cards. I'm kind of a habitual sleever, but really, if you don't really need to sleeve Awakened Realms games. They're thick, generally good quality card. They don't wear very much. And in this game, you're not really, especially like the enemy cards, and many of the cards, you're not going to be shuffling them really that much. Unless you're a habitual sleever like me, you probably don't need to sleeve any of the cards in this game. Good rule of thumb for sleeving is sleeve cards that you're going to be handling a lot, or shuffling, that kind of thing. If you're not shuffling or handling them a lot and they're just kind of sitting on the table, then I don't think you really need to. You don't really need to sleeve that much. The dice are also a really good quality dice. Awakened Realms often offers a premium dice for their game, which is kind of funny because these dice are really nice, custom dice, high quality. I guess the premium ones are marbled or a little fancier, but I've never seen the need to upgrade the dice because they're really good quality. The tokens are just typical tokens. They're good thick cardboard quality though, and then you always get these. This is kind of like a Awakened Realms staple. These purple cubes that they use to mark things in every game, and the max health tracker here. It's a little plastic token, so it works pretty well. It just slots into the board, and then it even has a slot for your life thing. The player board is a dual layer player board, so everything stays in there quite nice. I guess a minor gripe here is maybe this will wear in over time, but I found some of the cube track holders don't quite fit, but it looks like they're kind of wearing in over time, so maybe that will change over time as you play more. But otherwise, yeah, the player boards are pretty nice. This stump section comes out. I'm not sure why they made this removable, maybe just to fit in the box better, but yeah. That's removable. The box has a nice insert. As you can see, everything fits in there quite well. There's slots for everything. The trays that come with the game slot in there nicely. They have lids. The sleeves, I've sleeved most of the cards, and they still fit in there nicely, so they've left room for the sleeves, which they haven't done in the past, but they're starting to do that. So listening to feedback, so yeah, it's a nice box. Normally when I get a game, I throw away the insert. That's probably one of the first things I do. But Awakened Realms, they always have good inserts. So actually, I haven't thrown many of their inserts away. I usually use them and they typically do have room for. This one seems to have room for the expansions. So we'll see how that goes once I unpack these expansions. But yeah, good quality all around. I'd say the components are very nice. There's also the dice bag. There's a different color bag for each player that has different art on it. I think this actually has different art on both sides, so that's kind of neat. So nice little touches like that. All in all, A+ for components. I really like the components in this game. It really adds to the atmosphere and the theme. and I guess I didn't mention a lot of the tokens here are acrylic, so the damage tokens are acrylic, and the experience markers are acrylic. So. Let's get to the mechanics. So what kind of mechanics can you expect in this game? Well, there's quite a few. So there's bag building, pattern matching, character progression, exploration, missions, branching tasks, dice rolling, and mitigation. So the bag building element is, of course, with the tokens that go into your launch area that you're going to move around and get into your patterns. Bag building and the pattern matching are very close to a game I also love called Bullet. Bullet did the same thing. You draw, it works a little bit differently, but you draw these things into tokens in bullets in that game into a grid, and then you have to match patterns. So it's one of my favorite games. The fact that they took that mechanic and put it into an adventure style game is pretty awesome, because it kind of Bullet's pretty simple, little 20-30 minute game, whereas they've taken that excellent mechanic and expanded it into made it the main mechanic for full adventure game, which is really awesome. I like the fact that you can use the patterns to kind of soften up the enemies. That's really interesting. You have the basic patterns that you can use to bump up on your tracks and stuff. That's okay. Those aren't super interesting patterns. But yeah, there's patterns throughout the game that come up that you can use when you to acquire a body. You need to match it's probably the most complicated patterns you have to match to acquire new bodies in the game. So that's really interesting. There's also a lot of player progression in the game. So you can progress your character in a number of ways. So you have the class, and you have the class and the faction augments that you can get. So those are kind of neat, and they give you a little, some of them give you an ability. The faction ones give you an ability that you have to use a pattern to execute. The class ones are just kind of passive abilities for the most part that trigger in certain phases of the game. The other way you can progress is with these learning protocol cards that give you kind of like little goals progressive goals throughout the game, where you get one-time boons, and then when you finish the complete progression, you get a special ability. That's cool. Also, you can increase your max health. You can change out your core data, which is kind of a core color for your character. And then also, of course, you can replace your body. You can jump into new bodies that have different special abilities, different stats, different attack move program. So you can really develop your character any way you want. So you can make a flighty character. I had the assassin in the last game we played, and he was really good at defeating the enemies. But you have characters that are good at programming, so they can really leverage the patterns. Characters that move fast, have better attacks, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, really good character progression. Lots of ways to progress your character. Really good. The exploration aspect is also fun. Most of the board is unexplored when you start. There'll be a couple face-up ones, and you have to explore the board. The scenarios I've played, there's part of the map where you get random tiles, so it could be different tiles in the game. Not always going to be the same game, the same map. The layout will be the same for this. The layout will be the same for the scenario, but if you replay the same scenario, even the locations that are in the map could change, and where they are in the map will change, and all those kind of things. So that's pretty interesting. I like the scenario. The way the scenario mechanic works. It's a deck of cards, and there's branching missions so it's the overall scenario. There'll be a mission that you have to do, and then once you complete that mission, and the missions are on timers. Once you complete that mission, then you might get a choice branching on a branching path, and that will produce send you then to different missions. And like the scenario that we played, there's 3 different endings to it. So yeah, you can play that scenario again and do different endings, go through different paths. Yeah, really cool. I love the scenario system and how it works in this. And then the dice rolling and mitigation. So the dice rollings mostly just work used for the the trace at the beginning of the round. You might have to roll depending on how high your trace is at the beginning of the round, and then for the combat. So it's only used in the 2 things, and there's lots of ways to mitigate it. So that's 3 of your tracks that you're progressing on help you mitigate bad rolls. So that works really well. I like the dice rolling in here. It adds to the game, I feel. It can be a bit lucky, but all in all, I think I like all the mechanics in this game. And they all work really well together. So that's the other thing. There are a lot of different mechanics, but they've meshed them all together really well. The game runs really smooth. Turns are quick. So yeah, really overall great mechanic. I'll talk a bit about some of the cons in this game now, and then after I'm done talking about the cons, I'll talk about some of the pros. So the first con I'm going to talk about is dice luck. This isn't a con for me, but I know a lot of people don't like dice luck. There is a lot of mitigation in this game, but the dice can go against you. When I was playing solo, I ran into a really bad string of luck, and I actually ended up losing the game just because I rolled 3 bad dice rolls in a row. So it can happen. Why can it happen? You roll the enemy dice. There's 2 dice. You always roll just 2 dice for the enemy, and the first one is this number die, which determines how many enemies will attack you, and the second one is the symbol die, which has just 2 symbols on it, the big symbol and a small symbol. And the problem with that, I guess, is there's one side on the die that's blank, so you might not get any enemies, so that's good. But you could get 3. And if you got a big line of enemies attacking you, how that will work is, if you roll a 3, then all 3 are going to attack. If you roll 1, just 1, and so forth. And the other problem is the damage or the symbol die that you roll determines the type of attack. So there's a small attack and a big attack. Well, what can happen is if you keep rolling 3 and big, then all the enemies, all 3 enemies are going to hit you big with their big attack every time. So it's not like you get to reroll this die and one will hit you with a big attack and one with a small, and all 3 will hit you with a big attack. So that can take you out pretty quick. So you'll want to keep your tracks up and try to mitigate that. The other problem with that is at least the way I've been playing, or I found in this solo game, as you progress later into the game, I found that you don't progress on the tracks as much because you're focusing on taking out the enemies or doing the scenario, trying to finish the scenario, and so your mitigation, you don't have as much ability to mitigate the attacks, and you're facing stronger enemies, and so it can kind of snowball on you. Now, that just might be, not being good at the game yet, because, haven't played it enough to really figure out, the right cadence. But, it's just, it's there, something you should be aware of. But, it's not a huge part of the game. The dice only, like I said, it only comes in the trace track and the fighting the enemies. So I think that's minor. The other cons, I found the basic pattern matching that you do to move up on these tracks, like I just mentioned. I find that there's less opportunity to use those later in the game because you need to make patterns to replace your bodies if you're losing your bodies because you're getting killed, or you need them to soften up enemies if you're getting attacked. So it's not as much opportunity to execute those basic patterns and get assets. So so that's that's a small thing, but I just found that they kind of become useless at the end of the game. And the last con I have for this game is I thought it was a little bit long for what it is. It does get a little repetitive. I found you've been playing a scenario that's rated as a medium length, and it took about 3 hours. Now I got to take that with a little grain of salt. We have a player in our group that is AP prone, so I had some turns where he was sitting there for 10 minutes studying his patterns, but for the most part, the game is pretty smooth and quick to play. But I found the scenario was just maybe one or two rounds a little too long. I would have preferred it was a little bit shorter for what it is, because the main loop is pretty simple. I mean, there's ways to speed that up. The combat, we were kind of doing our combat simultaneous. It doesn't say in the rules to do it that way, but we found that there was no issue with doing that simultaneous. The only thing really you need to do in turn order is your moves on the board, of course, have to be in turn order. But everything else you seem to be able to do it simultaneous. So that's all I really had for the cons. So now we can move on to the pros. Okay, pros for this game. The rule set is actually quite simple. The rulebook's not very big. It's well put together. Has a good index at the back. Well, the index not at the back, not on the back page, but it's the second page on the back. On the back, they have a nice summary of everything, which I found I didn't really use. They give you these index these kind of rule summary player aid cards here, and I found these were really good. They have all the rules for the phases. They got the turn order, how to do your upgrades. They got basic pattern lists, and then like what all the data tokens do. I found those 3 cards are awesome. You keep them beside your board, and I found I wasn't going back to the rulebook much. I was mostly just using those cards. So player aid cards are really good, and there's a set for each player, so that's nice. And yeah, once I learned the rules, I wasn't really referencing the book much anymore. I was just referencing those cards. The other thing is this game has a ton of variety. There's 11 scenarios in the box. I have the expansion that came out at the same time, and that has another 4 scenarios, and also adds some new mechanics and characters and such. Within each scenario, like I mentioned before, there's lots of variety within the scenario, because there's branching paths. The maps are variable, not just in where tiles are, but there's not every tile will be in every scenario, so you have different locations in the scenarios. And so yeah, that gives you lots of different variety. Of course, you'll face different enemies and all that kind of thing. So tons of variety in this game. I think you'd have to play it quite a bit to kind of see it all or get tired of it. So given that you probably, it looks like most of the scenarios each have like 3 different endings. So really go through 11 scenarios 3 times each to try the different endings. That's like 33 goes through, and plus the expansion. So lots and lots of variability, and if you get tired of the scenarios, they even include a scenario generator, so you can play random scenarios. And in fact, that's the only way you can play the PvP game, which I haven't tried, by the way. I've only tried the solo and the co-op multiplayer. Yeah, the other pro is this puzzle part. I really like this puzzle area here. Sliding the stuff around and making the patterns. That's a lot of fun. Trying to get the patterns, and how the abilities you can get combos with that, and to help you do that, being the main mechanic. So that puzzle part is great. People who like puzzling out in their games will enjoy that part of the game. And the other thing is it plays well solo or multiplayer. So I'm finding lately that I get a lot more value out of a game if I can play it solo, because we don't meet with my game group once a week to play, but in between I can play the games solo, so that's really good. Adds more life to your game. You'll get it out more often if you can play it solo. And I didn't really find any difference between the solo and the multiplayer. In the solo, they include that bot. You get like a little AI guy that works with you, and it's really easy to run the bot. It's really just there to help in scenarios where you need to search the map, so that you have 2 characters searching the map. But beyond that, it doesn't do anything else, so you're not running 2 full characters. Although if you really want to do that, I'm sure you could, but much easier to run the solo with the bot, and it gives you allows you to play the game true solo, so you're only having to run 1 character. And the last thing I really like about the game is the exploration. I like exploration games. The exploration in this game works really well. It gives you that feeling of exploring, a cyberpunk city. So yeah, lots of fun there. The world itself is very interesting. I don't have. I think cyberpunk is probably an underused theme in the games. Most games are sci-fi or fantasy. So I appreciate that Awakened Realms is giving us a cyberpunk game. I really like the theme, like the art in the game. So yeah, now I have if I feel like delving into a cool cyberpunk world, I have that option now. And then the final thing I really liked about this game is the character progression. The character progression is really good. You got lots of different options with the character progression. I feel like my character is getting more powerful as the game goes on, and so that works really nicely. Where's this in the slider of fun versus a kind of thinky game? I think this one slides right in the middle. It's got the puzzle aspect to it that you can puzzle over, and the character progression. So you think about how you want to do that stuff, and then it has, on the fun side, it has the story, the character progression, and then the dice rolling, leads to those fun moments where if you roll really well and you take out that last enemy, or you get crushing defeat from a bad roll, or you take you over. So I think it has a little bit of everything. So it's fun, but it also burns your brain a little bit with the puzzle mechanics. So final thoughts on this game. What's my final score? I'm giving this one a 7.5. I think it's close to an 8, but not quite there. I think just because of the length, I found was a little bit long. It outstays its welcome a little bit. It's a fun game. It's lots of interesting decisions and puzzliness, but there's just it felt like there was just something missing. Now it could just be the scenarios. I was just played the tutorial and the first scenario, and they're rated easy and medium. So maybe as you get into the more complicated scenarios, burn your brain a bit more, and the game will get more interesting. So I can see that score. After repeated plays and playing some of the later scenarios, maybe going up to an 8. And you also have that with a scenario-based game. The enjoyment of the game is usually very dependent on the scenario playing, because you're going to get good scenarios and bad scenarios. That's something it's never really going to be even. You'll have some that are better than others. So I could see that score going up after repeated plays. But overall, this is a great game. If you're looking for a cyberpunk game, or the puzzliness aspect of it intrigues you, you can't go wrong with this game. For an Awakened Realms game, this is also cheaper than their regular games, so you can get a copy for it's not as expensive as some of the big campaign games. Especially you don't get the minis. You keep this one under 100 Canadian. Compared to the other Awakened Realms games, this is probably in the middle somewhere. It's not my favorite Awakened Realms game, but it's not my least favorite, so it's kind of in the middle somewhere. So overall, great game. I think Awakened Realms continues to knock it out of the park with their games. They're giving you interesting games, high quality games with interesting themes and new mechanics, and they're not afraid to try new things. I think this one is a winner. So thank you for listening, and if you like my video, like and subscribe, and comments down below. Give me some feedback. This is my first review, so if you can give me some feedback on my review.